to do today, something will be new for me, and let's kind of do an FAQ video here. There are certain questions that pop up a lot from different people in the comments over a period of time, so I thought it might be fun to answer some of those today. And of course, I try and answer them in the comments as much as I'm able anyways, but everybody may not see those questions, so I'll put together a few of the most common questions I get recently, or over the last few months, I guess, and we'll talk about those this morning. So the first question that comes up a lot, it's actually a series of questions, but it relates to vehicles, because I've had like 3 over the course of a year and a half, and I think that confuses people sometimes a little bit as far as what I'm driving and when and this kind of thing. I started off, like I said, about a year and a half ago now, with a Toyota Camry, and that was not ideal, and it wasn't really planned either. When I bought that car a couple years before, I had assumed I would be able to sell it or trade it on a van when I was ready to hit the road, because I knew hitting the road was going to be in my future. It was coming up, but it looked like it was going to be a little ways off, and you know, the Camry was a pretty nice car. It got great gas mileage, fun to drive, so it worked well for me for a while, but I intended to get rid of it before I got on the road. Unfortunately, as sometimes happens, that didn't work out, and so I had to make a decision between starting with the car, less than ideal, or postponing it, getting on the road indefinitely until I could do everything right the way I wanted to. And so I made the decision to just go for it. And while the car was not really an ideal solution, it also wasn't terrible. I made it work pretty comfortably. There are some things about having a van or something over a car that's definitely more comfortable, but I made it work and adapted and learned some things and figured things out, and it wasn't bad, and I got 40 miles a gallon out of it, so that counts for something. And because of that, I was able to do a lot of mileage my first year on the road, which is actually, I guess, fairly common amongst nomads. Your first year tends to be your busiest because you're excited to see things and go places. So I was able to do that because I was getting 40 miles a gallon. If I was getting 10 or 15 miles a gallon in a big van, I simply couldn't have gone the places I did in my first year. Then last summer, I ended up getting into a cargo trailer. The trailer was it was only 6x10, but it was actually bigger than what I needed. I had a great kitchen I built in there, and there's a video that some of you may have seen, a quick tour of it. I never did get it totally finished before getting rid of it, but it was. There were some advantages to a cargo trailer or something, or probably an RV trailer if it's solid, but there definitely are some advantages to that. There are some aggravations, like when you want to explore a BLM or Forest Service road and you don't know if the road's going to just end abruptly and leave you in a place you can't back out of. So you have to often have to decide between dropping the trailer and then going and exploring, or parking earlier than you'd like and not exploring as much as you would want because you got the trailer on the back. So anyways, I was traveling with a friend then, and we were basically sharing expenses, so it worked out well for both of us. And we did that for, I think, about 6 months. I'm not sure. I'd have to do the math to figure it. We did at least a few months, and we went a lot of places together. But eventually it got to the point that we knew this spring we were going to need to be going different directions because there were different things that we each needed to pursue. And so I knew I needed to get a vehicle of my own again. And so as I started looking at or considering vehicles that would haul the trailer, I quickly realized that anything big enough to comfortably haul that trailer was big enough to live in, and I didn't need the trailer. So while I was still exploring that, this minivan came along for me. And a minivan is actually all the size I need. I mean, could I do with a little more space? Of course. But I can I can be comfortable in a minivan. And I have no idea if I have to do something a little bigger next time, but I can definitely be comfortable in this van. So it came along through a friend at a price that worked for me, and so I snapped it up. And so that's what I'm driving now. and still doing some tweaks on it, getting it just the way I want. The big plans I got for the van right now are I need to get the portable solar panel hard mounted on the roof, which will make it easier to have consistent power, obviously. And that's not as big of a deal when you're out in boondocking, but it is when you're in town, so I'll talk about that more in another video, but for now, that's on the list to get done. And then the other thing I need to do is get a kitchen cabinet built in that'll allow me to cook easier, store food a little easier than the system I have right now. So those things are both coming up soon, hopefully in the next week or two, and I'm sure I'll put videos up about them as I make those improvements. But so the van it is for now, and it's working pretty well for me. So that's it. I've had 3 vehicles, roughly divided into thirds my time on the road, and so far as living out of it, the minivan's been the best so far for me. There are people whose priorities would make a car the better choice. There are people whose priorities would make the trailer the better choice. But for me, overall, the minivan is about the best balance of the 3 in terms of comfort and function and utility. Okay, so another question that comes up a lot is what I do for work. So I mention occasionally things about work, like needing good internet or solar for work or whatever. So what I do is I do freelance work primarily, and it's a combination of video and writing. And that the beauty of those things are that they're, with both cases, is that they're completely location independent, to use a popular buzzword these days. And I can do that from anywhere, but I do have to have good internet and reliable power to run the computer. So as long as I have those 2 things, I can work from anywhere in the world. It's not even limited to the continental U.S. here or anything. So I can go anywhere in the world as long as I have good internet and reliable electricity to keep the laptop going. So that's been wonderful for me because I'm not retirement age yet. So, and I don't have, the kind of bank account that would let me be out on the road without keeping some income coming in. So this is, the thing that works for me. Other people do, seasonal jobs or have different types of businesses. This is something that goes good for me. It allowed me to be on the road much earlier than I would have otherwise been. So that's what I do for work, and it allows me to do it on the road anywhere in the world that I have internet and electricity. So it's a pretty cool opportunity for me. The third question that comes up a lot is Wyoming. Namely, why the heck did you go to Wyoming in the springtime, in like March? Excellent question. I have asked myself that a few times too. But now, seriously, right now, Wyoming's my home base. I'm going to change that this year because it's not the most efficient thing for me. It doesn't really. It was intended to be a temporary thing when I got on the road, and it's time to do something different with that. But for now, it's my home base. So when I bought the van in January, I had to get it registered, of course. And so there were basically only a few options. Well, one was I could talk with the folks up here in Wyoming, and I could mail the title and paperwork to Wyoming, and along with the appropriate checks, and they would process everything and mail it back to me. And I know they've done that for other people as well. My worry was the guy that I bought the van from had the title notarized, but then he was traveling too, off across the country. So if the post office lost the title in the mail on the way up to Wyoming, I'd be in a real problem because I'd have no way to replace that paperwork anytime too soon. And so that made me nervous to let it out of my possession. I also could have run up and done a quick up and back, anywhere between January and anywhere between January and the 1st of April. But there's a lot of miles doing that, and it's a high mileage van. So I'm really trying to, in the interest of making it last for a while, I'm trying to limit my mileage for a while until I get an adequate bank balance built up to where I could comfortably replace it if I needed to. So there's that. And then the third option was what I ended up doing, which is just coming up early, wait until, you know, close to spring and come up early, knowing that I'm going to get some terrible weather after I arrive. And my time frame was dictated. I had to be here by this week. Actually, was when I had to be here because I was able to get a 90-day temporary non-resident permit, registration permit from Arizona. So I was good until this week. So I ended up, if you've seen the Utah video, I planned on going up part way and staying for a couple of weeks and then slowly working my way up across the course of a month as the weather warmed. But that didn't quite work out. So I got here early. But that's why I'm up here in the springtime, this early in the spring, no less. Normally, I would not come up here until like June, maybe even July. And I get out of here by September. So those are three broad topics that come up a lot. What about my different vehicles, and what do I do for work, and why on earth am I in Wyoming in March and now early April? So hopefully those answer some questions. And for those of you who maybe haven't seen those in the conversations in the comments, and I think I probably answered a little more fully now than in the comments, anyways. Meanwhile, I'm going to do an AFAQ video periodically. I'm not sure on the frequency yet because I'm just taking a total guess at the volume of questions I'll get. So I'm kind of thinking right now maybe once a month put out an FAQ video. So if you have other questions you'd like to see me answer in an upcoming video, just leave your question in a comment, and we'll see what I can do about answering it in a future video. And look for these, assuming I keep to the once a month, look for them like the first week of the month, and we'll get out a video with some FAQs and answering your questions about my experience with life on the road or my perspective on things, whatever. I'll attempt to answer them as they come in. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.